Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker has become a very divisive movie in the Skywalker saga. Now, to add to all of this, concept art from the original 9th film has been discovered and leaked. The title of this film has been confirmed to be called Duel of the Fates. With more and more concept art being released, I thought it would be a good time to go through all the leaked concept art we have so far. So sit back, relax and grab a pizza. Welcome to Star Wars Timelines. Now we're going to go ahead and go through concept art from newish to oldish. Not in that exact order, but around that. Our first piece of concept art shows BB-8 in disguise. He's just infiltrated the First Order shipyard on Kuat Moon and is obviously going to help our heroes get onto the Star Destroyer. We can see a similar Star Destroyer hallway to that we've seen in the past, with stormtroopers marching up and down. Our next little bit of concept art shows a migrant worker village on Kuat. The First Order obviously has a very strong occupation here, and this would have been more or less the opening, possibly, to the Star Wars Duel of the Fates film. Quick note, if you do enjoy these kinds of videos, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps me continue to make videos like these. Thank you also everyone so far. We're nearly at 800 subscribers. If you do have any videos you'd like to see next, please comment them down below. Now, on to the next one. Our next piece of concept art shows Rey, Finn and Poe battling their way through a Star Destroyer. The Star Destroyer has been confirmed to be a new type of Star Destroyer called the Eclipse. Our heroes plan to destroy a power shaft supplying raw ore to the First Order factory on Kuat. We also notice Rey has a double-bladed blue lightsaber, which is said to be the remains of the Skywalker saber with her own staff. The heroes would have failed in this mission, but they would have stolen the Star Destroyer. This is followed by Rey, Finn and Poe detonating the orbital ring around Kuat, and then a shot of them stealing the new Star Destroyer Eclipse. It's a very action-packed scene. Now, our next piece shows a mortally wounded Kylo Ren on Moraband, also known as Korriban. With the Resistance making off with the new Star Destroyer, Kylo Ren was attempting to track down an ancient weapon that he would use to end Rey and the Resistance. He would proceed to have a confrontation with Luke's ghost on Mustafar, and then find a Sith holocron, rather than a Wayfinder. The holocron contained a message from Palpatine to seek out Tor Valum, a Sith Master and Palpatine's teacher. This might be a bit confusing, since Plagueis was Palpatine's master, so it would have been interesting to see how Valum would have fitted into all of this. The holocron, however, would sense Kylo Ren's conflicted soul and unleash force lightning, which left Ren badly injured. In this shot, we see Kylo Ren being healed by the planet's inhabitants. Our next piece of concept art is Princess Leia. She had been attempting to build the Resistance. This art shows Leia on a planet called Korolev, and this would have been the Resistance base in the film. It has also been confirmed that a lot of the script was written to include Carrie Fisher, but as she passed away, the decision had been made to kill Princess Leia early on in the film. The story arc of rebuilding the Resistance would instead have been given to Poe and Chewbacca. After being scarred from the Force Lightning, Kylo would fashion himself a new mask. In The Rise of Skywalker, he also fashions himself a new mask, but instead the design is nearly identical to the original one. Well, he rebuilds the original one. Why this was done instead of making a new one is more or less unanswered, but this would have been different in Duel of the Fates. This bit of concept art also nicely mirrors Vader having his helmet put on in The Empire Strikes Back. Now the next few pieces of concept art shows our heroes on the ice planet of Wavit. They are being tracked down by the Knights of Ren. The Falcon has crash landed on the planet, and our heroes have to survive the dangers of the planet as well as their pursuers. Our next shot is another piece on Wavit, with the group sitting around a nice little campfire, just warming themselves. I mean, it's an ice planet, like, it's cold. Jumping forward a little, we now come to the planet Bonadon. This particular shot shows a harbour, another new planet that would have been added. We also have some concept art of what their razor sails would look like, sort of like boats, but Star Warsy. Star Wars boats. Kind of Star Warsy. Our next shot now shows Chewbacca battling with one of the Knights of Ren. It has been confirmed that one of the Knights of Ren would have been a potential rival to Kylo Ren, who would use the Sith holocron as a weapon to try and kill Ren and Rey. However, before we get to this, Chewbacca would have grabbed one of the knights by his throat, and then he would have thrown him into the air and blasted him out of the sky. We also know that the Knights of Ren had more personality and more character in this film than they did in The Rise of Skywalker. This is kind of shown by one of them would be rivaling Kylo Ren and eventually betraying him. So they would have also had a much different role to play than they did in The Rise of Skywalker. Our next few pieces of concept art revolve around another planet. This planet was called Remicor, a Sith world. Our first shot shows Kylo approaching the Sith temple. This concept art shows the temple as damaged and apparently abandoned. He travels into the temple with his droid, giving us a closer view of the temple's interior. We can also see what looks like to be armor on the ground with flags everywhere. Our final shot of this Sith world shows Kylo Ren sucking the life out of a tree. This takes place shortly after Ren battles with Darth Vader in a cave. Despite losing, Kylo masters the ability to drain life from those around him. We see him practice this on a tree, and then he drains the life out of Tor Valum, the Sith Master. Though we'll come to him in a little bit. We also then have a little bit more concept art revealing a new Resistance ship being pursued by TIE fighters and aided by X-Wings. Some people have remarked that this ship looks something kind of out of the Clone Wars era. As far as I'm aware, it looks like a completely new design, which would have been nice to see. Our next shot shows the beginning of the Battle of Coruscant, with TIE fighters chasing the Resistance through the buildings on the planet. We then jump to another shot of BB-8 running from incoming fire, with C-3PO holding a battle-damaged R2-D2 in the background. We then have some more concept art of stormtroopers fighting against the citizens of Coruscant. This would all have been based around the uprising on Coruscant, where the citizens would be fighting the First Order. Jumping back a little to Remicor, our next concept art shows Kylo Ren meeting Tor Valum, the Sith Master I was referring to earlier. This piece of concept art was actually ditched, however, from the final draft of Duel of the Fates. Valum was said to be 7,000 years old. While little is known about him, we'd assume if the film had been released, this information would have also been given to us, as well as who Tor Valum was and everything else, whether or not this would have been in the final draft at all. Kylo Ren would then venture into a cave where he would fight against Darth Vader. We now jump to the planet Mortis, as seen in the Clone Wars arc The Ghosts of Mortis. Mortis itself is a realm within the Force. It was not on any maps and could not be charted. Rey would eventually journey to the Temple of Mortis, where she would have a duel with Kylo Ren. This fight would have also revealed that Snoke had sent Kylo Ren as a young boy with the other knights to murder Rey's parents. After Rey would fatally wound Kylo, his dying breath would reveal Rey's name, Rey Sloaner. However, before this point, then we'd see an epic duel between the two. One might even say a duel of the fates. Okay, on to the next bit. After the fight, Rey would also be fatally wounded. She would lie on a stone slab, injured. She would then face the ghosts of Yoda, Obi-Wan and Luke. Rey would ask, "Is this death?" Obi-Wan would then respond, "In this place there is no such thing as death." Yoda reveals that Rey had succeeded where they had failed. Luke would comment, "You choose to embrace the dark side and the light, to find the balance within." They then offer Rey a choice to stay in the comfort of the astral plane or to return to the living, where she will experience both love and loss. Rey would return to the living and the spirits would fade. As they did, Obi-Wan would say, "You are a Jedi, Rey Salona, but you will not be the last." She would eventually be rescued by the Falcon and would arrive on Modesta to train a new generation of Jedi. We have a little bit here of the Falcon rescuing her, of BB-8 then seeing Rey in the distance, and then a final shot of the Jedi Temple with BB-8 rolling over to Rey, all ecstatic and cute because he's a little ball. These are the latest 28 leaked concept arts. We're also now going to have a quick breakdown of the original 20 leaked concept arts that came out mid-January. Our first one shows Rey wielding her double-bladed lightsaber on the Star Destroyer. She's taking out a group of stormtroopers, and you know she's looking pretty hard. It's good. We then jump to Coruscant, where a Resistance member called Beast Kova is being executed by what looks to be Captain Phasma. meaning she possibly survived The Last Jedi. We then cut to Korolev, where Luke's ghost is training Rey, much like Leia did in The Rise of Skywalker, except this looks to be in some kind of temple thing. We then have some more concept art of Bunnadan, where it is revealed that Poe lived here with his grandfather. And then we get a nice little sneak peek of Rey using a razor sail to battle the Knife 9, the ship that belongs to the Knights of Ren. We then have some more art of the Sith world, where we not only get a good picture of Tor Valum, but also a shot of Kylo Ren battling Darth Vader. The next few pieces revolve around the uprising of Coruscant, where we first see the First Order's occupation, followed by C-3PO, R2-D2, Rose and Finn attempting to activate the beacon on Coruscant to broadcast Leia's hologram of hope to the galaxy. This is followed by R2 and 3PO wandering the streets of Coruscant, much different to how the Coruscant looked in the prequels, and then we get our first shot of the uprising, with Finn rallying the citizens of Coruscant to fight against the First Order. And then we also have this nice little bit here of Rey facing a monster on Mortis, shortly before her battle with Ren. Jumping back to Coruscant now, the citizens are painting and preparing old Imperial era chicken walkers, or ATSTs, to fight against the First Order, which we then see in action in our next piece, where the walkers are lined up against the First Order. The First Order having massive new kind of walkers. We then see stormtroopers battling against the citizens on what looks to be a barricade of destroyed fighters. We see some X-Wing fighters there, so good amount of fighters. And then we cut to a shot of 3PO holding a battle-damaged R2-D2. Now, R2 was originally thought to have actually perished and be dead, and that was the end of his story, but it was confirmed by the original director that R2 would not die and would have been rebuilt much like he was in A New Hope. We then finally see another shot of Rey and Kylo fighting on the Mortis temple, with Rey wielding her double-bladed lightsaber and Kylo wearing his new mask. Our next piece shows Luke blocking Kylo's lightsaber, possibly the showdown I referenced earlier on Mustafar. With the First Order losing the Battle of Coruscant, Hux also commits seppuku with a lightsaber. Apparently in the final version, it would be a purple lightsaber. And then our final art shows Leia holding her message of hope to BB-8, wearing her original New Hope clothes. Now it's just whether or not this was a scene where she actually recorded this message, which would have mirrored that in the New Hope, or if she was just giving BB-8 the message. I'd assume she was recording the message here. This has been all the concept art released so far. I will continue to update all of you if any more comes out. Now I would like to just give a quick mention that while Duel of the Fates is clearly a very different film to The Rise of Skywalker, this is only concept art, and concept art usually changes drastically during the production of the film. Now while I did want to break down all the concept art we had so far because I do find it all very interesting, I'm not saying it would have been an improvement on The Rise of Skywalker, and that concept art does not make a film. So, you know, take everything with a pinch of salt. But for now, thank you for watching and may the Force be with you.